Conor, we're talking a bit before the podcast, before recording. You and your brother built Gold together, which is your firm today. But again, you didn't start from money. You grew up on welfare. Nobody in your family owned real estate, no blueprint. How do you go from that starting point to building a financial firm that protects wealth of some of the most successful real estate professionals in Vancouver?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to back up, I'd like to share a little bit about ourselves and who we are, as this will kind of set the pace for the rest of the conversation. And like you mentioned, yes, my brother and I, we are business partners. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it on this call today. He's with his son, so I'll do my best to answer on his behalf. I'm 32 years old, my brother's 36, so people often ask us, how long have you guys been in business together? And I guess my answer is 32 years. Now,
really,
everyone in this world has had their own difficulties. Okay, everyone in this world has their own story, and I find it very fascinating listening to others and hearing their stories, how it shaped them to who they are today. Now, I could spend a lot of time here talking about our story and whatnot, but obviously that's not necessarily the goal of today's conversation. So I'll try and condense this as fast as I can, 32 years, into a few minutes, and then we can kind of move on to how we help business owners. But my brother and I, we are very much different. We have different skills, personality traits, but of course we lived a similar upbringing, although we do have different fathers. So there is some difference there as well. Our mom was 16 years old when she had my brother, and she had me at 20. So she had 2 kids by 20 years old. Now, Joey, I'm not sure about you, but I could not imagine being a father at 16 years old.
Oh no.
At 16 years old, I was probably, not even kidding, probably standing by a liquor store or something like that, trying to get a boot from someone so I could go drink, in a park with a bunch of my buddies. As you mentioned, yes, our family, we didn't come from money. Our parents, they did their best with what they knew at the time. And I love them a lot. Yeah. My mom and I are extremely close. But like you mentioned, yes, we did grow up with a lot of instability as children. We did grow up on welfare. We were constantly, moving houses, moving schools. Our parents weren't together, so we never really had a strong foundation to be built on. And we never owned anything. We didn't own houses. And I'm not going to get into it, but there's also a lot of other horrible events that occurred in the family, lots of addiction. But when you're surrounded by this chaos your entire life, there are also a lot of lessons to be learned. There's a quote that they say, if you pray for strength, God will send you something heavy to carry. You pray for patience, you'll get delays. You pray for courage, you get fear. So if you pray for stability, God will send you uncertainty. And, uncertainty, he did. I know I'm talking a lot here, but I want to kind of share a little story about how we got into this business. Fast forward to when I was, this interesting story, but fast forward to when I was 15 years old. I was walking with a friend of mine. We were going to meet a girlfriend of mine at the time. And 2 kids came up to my friend and I, and with a knife, they said, "Give me your headphones." To which, obviously, my friend, he did, of course, give the headphones. I don't think Apple headphones are worth fighting for. Shortly after giving them, we ran away and we passed my cousin. We told him what happened. And immediately after letting him know, we all started chasing at the direction of these 2 kids. And as we were running after them, we passed by my dad's house, to which I ran inside. I told him what happened. He jumped out of his seat. He went out the front door. And as we went out that front door, I saw one of the kids jumping the fence across the street. So we ran in that direction. I went one way, my dad went the other. As I continued circling the block, I did not run into the kid. He wasn't the direction that I went. When I came full circle to the direction that my dad went, I saw him laying on the grass in someone's front lawn. Now, my dad was stabbed in the heart. Okay, so I watched him lay there. And I swear I saw the soul leave his body that day. And I share this for a few reasons. The first is tomorrow is not promised. You never have any idea when it will be your last day. So it's extremely important to prepare for the unknown. 2, as crazy as this sounds, the world, in my opinion, works in some mysterious ways. When horrific events occur, we're presented with a few options. The first option is you can become a victim to your circumstances. You can say, woe is me. Why do all these bad things happen to me? The world's unfair, even if it is, but you never let go of these things. They become who you are, and you get caught in a very negative spiral. And your outlook on life becomes extremely negative. I mean, if you look at life through a negative lens, that's exactly what you're going to find. And the second is, if you can believe that everything happens for a reason, and it is up to you to find the silver lining. I mean, I believe I was going down a different path at that stage in my life. My life could have ended up somewhere completely different, and we will never know what that would have been. Well, it could have been me that day. But I believe that, my dad, he sacrificed his life so I could live a better one, which ties me back to, if you pray for strength, God will send you something heavy to carry. This is what I call delusional optimism. And the reason I say it's delusional is because even if that's not true, even if my dad didn't sacrifice his life so I could live a better one, I would rather tell myself that's what happened and live in this, lie, but have a positive outlook on life, than tell myself it is not true and become a victim of my circumstances. And the reason I'm sharing this, the third reason, is because my dad had a life insurance policy. When I was 15 years old, I received $150,000. And I mean, $150,000 is a lot of money when you grow up coming from nothing. And this,
especially 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I believe, it could have been me that day, but it wasn't. And that 150,000 gave me the opportunity to live a better life. And I'll say living a better life doesn't necessarily revolve around money. Everyone has a different meaning, but with that insurance policy, I was able to purchase my first condo at 19 or 20 years old, being the first person in my immediate family to ever own a home. I then purchased a second property, a third property, and there's been a lot of learning lessons since that day. I don't like to call them mistakes because I took something away from it, but the path has been far from linear. I mean, I've had money, I've lost it, I've had money again, I've lost it all for many different reasons, each of which I try to learn my best from. I would like to say I've learned enough now, but I know that's not how this game of life works. I believe personally, the second you decide to stop learning is the second your life stops, but your physical body hasn't necessarily caught up. I know I'm talking a lot here and I'm almost done with this back.
No, that's great.
But fast forward about 6 or 7 years from that date, 2016, my brother and I got our life insurance licenses. I don't think anyone grows up saying, I want to be a life insurance agent when I'm older. But we understood the value of the life insurance and how it could impact people's lives from all walks of life. No matter where you come from, no matter how bad the circumstances you are in, everyone has access to life insurance. You don't need a degree to buy life insurance. You don't need a scholarship or certificates. You don't even need that much money as long as you're somewhat healthy. And I mean, even if you aren't, everyone has the opportunity to get insurance, or, almost everyone, and change the direction of their family's future. Now, life insurance isn't for everyone, but it is for people who believe in something bigger than themselves. So when people say, life insurance is too expensive, or I pay for enough for insurance already, or even if they ask me, how much life insurance should I get? I put it back on them. It's not for me to decide how you would like to impact your family or your children's life. Only these guys know the answer. So, our job is actually pretty simple. We show the numbers, we tell you how much it is and do the application, but it's really, up to you to decide the impact you'd like to make. Now, I want to move on to the rest of this podcast. And in fact, I do have a lot more to say, but I've been talking a lot, so I'll kind of let you ask the next question from there.
That was a powerful intro, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that story, because there's so many different ways that we can go on from there. But I really resonated with the delusional optimism. And I think every single entrepreneur, every single business owner, everybody watching this right now is a business owner, us included. You need to have that delusional optimism in the first place to get started in business. Even if, again, it might not be necessarily true what you're saying to yourself, but it's definitely serving you. It's risky to start a business. Everything in life is a risk. So if you're not betting on yourself and having that higher power, whatever you want to call it, to serve you, that is extremely powerful. And I think everybody has that sort of dark story that got them to, all right, I need to change. I need to do something. I'm going to use that horrific situation and make something better out of it, right? And use that strength to help you. So yeah, when you ask for strength, you got some hard stuff that happens, sometimes not what you expected, but I guess that's what God had in mind and had planned, and you wouldn't be where you are today, I imagine, without that event.
Of course, I fully believe that the circumstances, every circumstance, and it doesn't matter, whether it's severe as a murder or something even different, all these different circumstances impact people differently. And it's really up to you to decide how that's going to impact your future and how you're going to learn and grow from that, Like I said previously, we all have a few options. We can become a victim to our circumstances, or we can use it to our benefit. And I choose to use it to my benefit, even if it's a lie or it comes back to the delusional optimism.
No, I get that. Again, on my end, if I can share a bit of a personal story, when I was 16, I got diagnosed of a stage 2 cancer. That went for 2 years of chemotherapy, right? Where I had a good percentage of not making it. And that was before I got into any business stuff or anything like that. And I guess that was my event that gave me that strength that I got. I wouldn't be the person that I am today without that, going through this terrible 3 years that me and my family went through. And I think everybody has that kind of story. Or I think, in my opinion, the best entrepreneurs are the one that went through some sort of horrific story like that. It gave them the strength so that when some little thing happened in the day-to-day life or with clients, you're able to connect way better because you actually went through that stuff. What do you think is the biggest strength that this created inside of you?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the biggest strengths that it taught me is patience. I think through business, as we all know it, it can be a grind. We sacrifice a lot to go through business. People have families. We miss, let's say, soccer games. We miss ballet classes, whatever it may be. But there's a deeper meaning behind it. And I think going through what I did and understanding the circumstances that can happen in life, it provided me with the patience to be able to handle these little day-to-day tasks much better or more efficiently. I think we take life a little too serious, but when you really think about it, it can be gone in an instant. So I think after going through these things, you understand and appreciate the value of life, and you learn to obviously be grateful for what you have now, but at the same time, not necessarily satisfied. I think patience, I'd say, is definitely one of the biggest things that I've learned, and stability.
You said that for you, wealth isn't about flash or status, right? It's about, you just said it's stability, options, and protecting the people that you care about, like your mom, your family, and everyone close to you. When did that shift happen for you? And because I think a lot of business owners start out chasing the money, eventually realize that it's about something much deeper than this.
And not to say, I mean, I've gone through many stages, I've had money and I did the flash thing. I think we all have to go through these circumstances in life, but, and that's why I think that, when I had money, I wasn't necessarily ready for it. I was being flashy, I was doing these things. So whoever it is, they said, okay, you weren't ready, let's take that money away, I'll show you. And when that happens after enough times, you tend to learn that this flash and this status is mostly for other people. It's ego driven, right? And then when you're looking for money to pay for your food that day, how you're going to support your daughter, you really start to see the value of money. And it's a lot more than driving a nice car or having a nice watch, and a lot more to do with the stability and the peace of mind. I think peace of mind and the freedom that money provides is extremely valuable in the world that we live in.